Hi,
Blog
everybody.
Talk Radio.
Hi. Hello, Paul.
Hiya.
Hi. Well, that was a crazy 14 minutes for me. I couldn't get you, and then using a little. I went to my home phone and using a headset, and it started ringing. Then my cell phone started ringing. It's my husband. I'm on there live, and I'm like, okay, my husband's calling. I'm trying to send Paul a link. Live radio.
Well, it's what was the problem? Is that we're on British summertime, and that's changed. Well, the BST has changed. So I calculated there was an hour difference. It's normally 5 hours different between EST and Eastern Central Time. Is it you're on or something?
Mhm.
And
yeah, isn't it like 8 o'clock for you now in the evening?
Yeah, it is 8, but I calculated it at 9 because we had that hour on.
Oh, okay.
It's daylight saving. British summertime. They're talking about doing away with it, but it means that we're 2 hours out of sync with Europe, right? But it's a bit. It was introduced to increase daylight for when the crops, during. It's one of those historical things, a sort of we've kept doing, and it leaves us 2 hours out of. We're normally like one hour sync, but sometimes we'll go 2 hours out of sync with Europe because of this daylight summertime,
Yeah, they do that here. I mean, well, ours had switched already when we did the show last month. Yeah, it's craziness, and just keeps adding to our confusion and messing with time. And they say they've talked about it here, leaving it alone. And so when you said something about BST, that's why I had to give you the laugh out loud. Like, what's BST? I wasn't. I thought we were the only people that played with the time,
Well, I was looking on the internet, and I had a feeling that you didn't add summertime to the EST time.
No, I didn't know you did that too.
Yeah. So I did. So I was working on the assumption that you were fixed, because of course that means that it's always going to be 5 hours difference between the two. You see. So, they're 5 hours difference anyway, so.
Well, you know what? It came all together. I posted up in the chat the last 2 videos you put out, and I got to tell you, I'm excited to talk about the last 2 videos you just put out.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I thought it's it's all this research that I've observed the Orb bar wave process, and I'll keep on referring it to that. And from that point, you make a certain number of conclusions that about the science of how the universe truly works, and slowly but surely. I was talking to my wife this week about how I could have discovered such phenomenal linkage between the theories and what is observed in nature, and so I'm in the middle of. I did a magnetic cooling video. It wasn't narrated, so I'm in the middle of just preparing that. But I'll talk about that in terms of. I'm just so excited about it because it's something that's so new and fresh. Did you know that the sun's pole at the South Pole is dramatically cooler than the North Pole?
Well, I mean, there's information that comes out, Paul, and I'll be honest with you. I mean, I'm just down to I don't know what to believe anymore. That somebody put a video out, probably last month, talking about, oh my gosh, the sun was really heating up.
Yeah. Well, I've got all the links. I haven't done the video, but the South Pole of the sun is massively. I'm not going to quote the figures because I haven't had a chance to do the proper to look at the proper calculations on it. But I think it's something like 105,000 degrees cooler at the South Pole than the North Pole, and the scientists can't explain that. They're dumbfounded by it. They've only just recently discovered this. This is from either a NASA site or one of the SOHO probes,
Mhm.
And of course, the as above, so below thing. You know that everything.
Well, yes, that's my way of thinking.
Yeah. So it's a way that the ancients thought, and it's, to be honest, and this will lead into remote viewing and particles and things like that I'll talk about later on in the interview. So, did you also? And I mean, I'm just trying to paint a picture here now because it's difficult without the video because I mean all the video will have all the content and links that you can have a look at and things like that. Did you also know that the South Pole, up until recently, the South Pole sea ice has been increasing? The sea ice on the Earth now. So we got cooling on the sun, on the South Pole, and we've got cooling and increasing ice sheets on the South Pole. Now, that's not talked about a lot because we've been sold the global warming lie. You know, the man-made carbon dioxide heats up the planet. But we've got an increase in the ice sheets on the South Pole. And nobody knows the mechanism of why that is happening. You know, nobody knows the mechanism of why it's happening on the sun and why is it happening on the Earth. And of course, it's pretty obvious to me, and this is to do with particle and magnetic field. And particle, because I am an energy worker, I work with energy. This magnetic particles over magnetic fields create cooling. There's a thing called magnetic cooling. Have you ever heard of it? Or magnetic refrigeration?
Not in terms of not that you're going to tell me.
They use it in refrigeration. They accelerate particles over a magnetic field, and at the center of that magnetic field, they get irradiated heat. Right. So if you can, because I'll try and describe it. You imagine the Earth is a magnetic field. We've got a north and south pole. At the moment, the sea ice on the south pole is increasing. So you pass particles over the north or south pole, and you get a cooling effect. But you also get a warming in the core of the Earth. Now, this is the mechanism that I've just discovered. I hadn't factored in that the sea temperatures are rising from low down in the oceans. And this is because of the irradiated heat, right, which is particle traveling over magnetic fields, which creates cooling.
Okay.
my
I mean,
sense
because
of
really the information they're kind of putting out there right now is, say the South Pole. They're talking about chunks of the ice shelf breaking off because of the heating up, and then we have to be concerned that the ice chunk is going to melt and add to the rise in the water levels.
Yeah. The trouble is, it's all agenda-driven. I think that the trouble is that they just. In the old days, the vicar used to interpret the Bible. They would never, they would never let anyone have a look at the Bible, in case they got to understand what it was truly saying. I know once they started to add their language to it and interpretation, we got lost with it. But I mean, the simplicity of let's just say what Christ was saying: love thy neighbor, don't chuck stones at your brothers and sisters, and live a life of compassion is a very simple message. But they've tended to confuse things, and they started with religion and these are just sticks to beat us, So that whilst the North Pole is supposedly melting, the South Pole is increasing. And of course, you'd never ever once you control the data source, these data sources, you're never ever going to get to see what is truly happening. All I can say is that if the South Pole sea ice is increasing, and there are publications on that which I haven't got to hand, and the North Pole sea ice is decreasing, then if you look at it in terms of magnetic cooling, particles, right? So now we have the Earth is a magnetic bar. You have particles charged in a certain way, so that you've got particles now hitting the North Pole or the South Pole. Now the Sun is outputting more particles that will be attracted to our South Pole, right? And also through the heliosphere, unless we get cooling. It's probably a little bit too complex to explain.
Well, my thinking, when you're talking, here's where my thinking's going. From what they do tell us, okay, is like I'm visualizing, okay, when the solar activity is going on and they talk about the magnetic storms, the solar storms, they do give the view. The simulations are out there to show it affecting from our North Pole down, so to speak. And interestingly enough, the one magnetosphere simulator website has quit, no longer is operating, and that seems suspicious.
Yeah,
because of possible something going on, and they just don't want to give the information anymore. So it's obvious, we need to be concerned about this one word that keeps coming up, and that's the magnetics.
Yeah. So let me see if I can try and I was going to try and link these concepts together. I don't know whether I'm going to be successful in terms of language or whatever. So we have in the center of our solar system the Sun. I think that's accepted. And the Sun, through its sunspots, inflates its heliosphere and charges the bubble or the magnetic bubble that all the planets are encased in our solar system. With the lack of sunspots and CMEs, and although they'll be telling us there's a lot of sunspots, there's nothing like what Hathaway was predicting back in 2005. In fact, it's more like a minimum than anything else. It's established through Voyager that the heliosphere, the protective bubble that protects us from cosmic particles and rays, which is energy. Let's call it energy, or from outside our solar system, is now weakened.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have now is more. So let's say the Earth now is moving through the the galactic cycle, or whatever you want to call it, through space, and with a weak magnetic field added as the heliosphere, which is created by the sun, particles now can come in to our solar system. So it's imagine that now we are being bombarded because of the weak sun, particles from space, from outside of our solar system. Now, these particles, and there's a very, very good YouTube video. These particles, he thinks it's coming from Nibiru, and it may be, it may not be, because if Nibiru, to my thinking, could be a massive orb, and we've seen a massive orb attached to the sun, and they carry charge. They carry energy, they carry charge, and they carry consciousness. So these things can bring charge into our solar system. So as this dust particle enters in, or this particle and energy enters into our solar system, if it hits our Earth first, it will disturb our magnetosphere, or the Van Allen belts, or whatever you want to call it. Prior to some of these tsunamis, there's a man on the, as I say, on the internet, predicted these two major earthquakes by watching what the Earth's magnetic field is doing, and not the sun's magnetic field. So the Earth's magnetic field was disturbed prior to the major sunspot. Now everyone's saying all the sunspots are being blasted out of the sun towards Earth, and they're causing neutrinos from the sun are bombarding the center, causing geological upsets, running down our poles and whatever. My contention is, and this is that particles from outside our solar system come into our solar system and regenerate, not only regenerate our Earth's magnetic field, but the sun. And depending on the positions of the sun in relation to the Earth and the other planets, depends on. So what we got is the chicken and egg situation. The sun may be blasting us, but the sun is actually being blasted by particles, which is causing this very unusual solar cycle 24. So
I just saw they had posted an article now saying that the cycle now doesn't start till 2013.
That's right. Well, it was very late to get going. It never got going, and it's very late to finish. I mean, they say that they're supposed to vary, 11 point so many years, but they can be as short as 9 years. They predicted that this would be the most violent sunspot cycle. We're not talking of solar flares now; they're a different thing. Sunspots have been recorded by the Chinese from the 1st century, and it's probably the quietest that we've ever had. So they got it so wrong, absolutely so wrong. In 2005, I've got the Hathaway predictions, and he has basically had it so wrong. Now the New Age movement cottoned onto this and started saying, "Oh, it's going to be the most violent sunspot cycle." Now we have unusual activity on the sun, but it's not sunspot activity. And as far as I'm concerned, and this is part of the prediction, is we are going to be bombarded from particle outside of our solar system. Now, everyone, new energies from space. I mean, Greg Braden has talked about it. The interesting thing about this particle coming in from outside our solar system is that cosmic rays, which is a part of the particle, acting in the upper atmosphere, creates carbon-14.
Okay.
And carbon-14 acts on DNA. And carbon-14 is increasing at this very moment.
And this is where everyone's talking all about our DNA being changed.
Well, the carbon-14 sits on the DNA strand. And when you increase it, it'll act on that DNA strand. Now, what will it do? I can't say what it will do. All I'm saying is I was predicting back in 2007 that carbon-14 would increase because we would go into a minimum, which we have. And so now we have this minimum, and we're gonna be seeing. Well, I don't want to be a pessimist, but we are going to be seeing some changes, and I think we are. I think we're already in it. So I just want to. I'll just carry on with this magnetic cooling, because in healing we use a similar thing to create heat in the target. Right. So now you've got these particles, and they can either be attracted to the North or South Pole. Can you get that?
Yeah, I believe I can. I mean, because
right, if you hold a magnet together with attracting forces, they pull together.
Mm-hmm.
So if you imagine that if you shaved parts of that magnet off the end and threw them up into the air, they would be pulled to the one end. I know this is rather crude way of looking at it. If I shaved them off the other end and threw them into the air, they would bounce off it because they repel. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you get if you get a positive or a negative charge, positive particles will go to the negative, and the negative will go to the positive. So hence you'll get more. If you get more particles going to the south, you'll get more cooling under the laws of magnetic cooling or magnetic refrigeration. Hence, that's why we've got more cooling on the south pole of both the sun and the earth. So the particle coming in from space is attracted to our south poles, or has been. These things change. So that's so the last time we saw. So you're going to say to me, well, is there any evidence for this, or is there, this yes, there's evidence that the magnetic poles are being disturbed prior to sunspot activity. But what is there any historical evidence? And I'll say, well, yes, there is. There's mammoths. Now, the mammoths in the north were feeding in summertime. They have buttercups in their teeth and whatever, and they're instantaneously frozen.
Right.
They also have cosmic particles in their ivory tusks and embedded in them, blasted from the one side. So now what we have is a solar minimum. The heliosphere is weakened. The particles stream in, hit our magnetic field, blast off it, and cause a blast freezing effect, so the mammoths are frozen instantaneously. Ice balls form and break their legs. Now, these mammoths were quickly frozen. They have cosmic particle in them, and the limbs of the mammoths were broken. And science cannot answer that because they do not believe in magnetic cooling. So I posed this question to the man in the woods who was an engineer on a rig, and I said to him, "Why is the North Pole in the summer is closer to the sun? It has 6 months of light, and the equator goes into darkness, which is on the cold side of the sun. Why is the North Pole not hotter than the equator? Because if you did the average mean distance, because it's always facing the sun for 6 months of the year, should be warmer." And of course it's not. They'll say, "Oh well, it's frozen, or the temperatures or the sea temperatures are keeping it warm." And so what we've got not angular tilt. Angular tilt plays a small part, or the tilt away from the sun and to the sun causes a small part, but we have our poles, right, and the magnetic concentration at those poles are the reasons why we get cool in there. Now, if we've got a quadrupolar sun, the sun is going to cool in 4 positions, because it's got 4 magnetic poles.
Yeah, that's the one they just came out with that
that's the
for
one
some
they just
reason I can't wrap my head around.
Well, it's a breakdown of the magnetic field, because the magnetic field is falling apart.
Of the sun.
Of the sun. But if that's mirrored on Earth, we could have freezing on the equator.
Oh,
or
wow.
at least magnetic cooling. If this mirroring effect is going on, so we've got cooling on the South Pole, we've got warming on the North Pole, we've got cooling on the South Pole of the Sun, we've got warming on the North Pole of the Sun, or differentials, bigger differentials in heat, then that heat is going to be displaced. It'll explain why the oceans are warming, because the irradiated heat in its core. And this is, to me, this is just, I'm looking into this thing, and it is all coming up as saying yes, yes, yes. I mean, it's not a sort of new age topic where people are going to go, well, we don't quite understand what you're saying. I'll tell you how I first came about understanding magnetic cooling, and I think it's probably everyone's experienced it. You go into places and they feel colder than they should do. It's like as if someone's walked over your grave or whatever. Mm-hmm. And this is because the localized magnetic field is cooler. It has a stronger magnetic field in those places. And I was working in Silverstone, and I was camping. I was doing some bar work there, and because I was susceptible to the Earth's energy fields, I walked over I pitched my tent, and this magnetic burst hit me and sent me into like a freezing cold shock. I went into shock, like a convulsion.
Wow.
So all my body was twitching and everything, and it was about 20 meters away from the oak tree. So I thought, this is really, really strange. I have come across storms, and I could feel the energy of storms when they're coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So the following day, I went to the farmer, and I said to him, what's the problem with that piece of land about 20 yards away from the tree? And he said, I don't know. He said, our family have farmed it for years. He said, and it is dreadfully, dreadfully cold, even in summer. So the farmer, through his generations of farming it, also knew that there was this magnetic cooling, a place which is cooled by the energy of the location. So, you'd have to do a study on the magnetics of it or the energetic effects of it. But I could feel it. And I knew it to be magnetic cooling. And then when I look up and I look at industrial products, there is a product. There are many products on the market that use magnetic cooling, and all it is particles accelerated over strong magnetic fields. And where do we get particles? The northern and southern lights. That's what the particles are. So it depends on whether they're coming from our sun or from outside our solar system. Depends on the effect. And I'm pretty sure that NASA and the controlling scientists, or at least the ones with the privileged information, know this, because they've recently shut down the modeling of the Earth's magnetic fields.
Mm-hmm.
And
not only that, Paul, did you see that
well.
article that physics.org just put out about they're going to send up 20 new satellites for space weather, and saying about the northern lights disrupting their GPS satellites. Oh my gosh, I'd have to pop up the article. But and so in that sense, they're admitting it.
Yeah, they do know.
But they still keep selling the global warming story.
Well, you see, when I think in my last interview with you, I said that science is going to hit this brick wall. It's this ever narrowing path which will lead to a blind alley. And they'll have to just hold their hands up and say, well, we got it wrong. They deliberately led us down this wrong alley. The universe is more the electrical model. There's Talbot and Wallace of the electrical universe. I think I sent some stuff over to them. They're more or less there, but they don't believe in the string theory ideas. The Orb bar wave is basically what the quantum physicists are looking at, but they factored in gravity, which is an error. We know gravity exists, but there's errors in gravity. If you look at string theory being fractal, as everything is, so you have fractal string theory, then you will understand what the Orb bar wave is. The Orb bar wave is just string theory, but it's fractal.
Mm-hmm.
So it occurs at the very quantum, but it also occurs at the very large scales. Now, we could be seeing massive orbs traveling into our solar system, which could be in Erebus, holding energy. They built all these telescopes in the infrared spectrum. Why have they done it? The Vatican has an because orbs are seen in the infrared spectrum. So giant orbs coming towards our sun, delivering energy or putting it to our Earth, and if they appear infrared, is there a thing called a red Kachina and a blue Kachina?
Right.
So a lot of the Hopi mythology, originally these Kachinas, or these gods, these Kachinas weren't stars. I was listening to one of the earlier Hopi videos, and they classed it as the blue Kachina, red Kachina, and they added a star to it. So because nobody could understand what a blue Kachina would be. I do. I understand. Is it Mungwabi Kachina? I think it's that. I think that's the name of it. The Kachina that delivers energy to plants.
Mm-hmm.
And so as these the orb, the bar, the wave, and also the other processes start to be, they will be understood as aliens, because again the Illuminati, Hollywood, controlling elite want to they know this stuff is coming. They know this is going to be unveiled, like the Hopi told us. I didn't think that I would see it in my lifetime. I knew that the ancients saw it. I knew that Hans Glazier saw it. I just didn't think that we would be at a stage where we would be seeing it at my lifetime, because the last time was 1651, but I mean it's been seen intermittently, and so everything now that we're looking at is these UFO, the Disclosure Project, are only looking at the energy of creation and telling us that it's aliens in spaceships. Well,
that's what I was just going to say. I mean, so many people. It's not to say that some people, do have some impressive videos of things, right here in our atmosphere, but when, that whole situation where people were like, oh, did you see the mothership was refueling, off the sun? And then, you came out with your video, and me already being aware of, your information, and talking about this orb. Here's my question, though, Paul. How in, what was it, 1566?
Yeah.
Okay. And being that we're using infrared telescopes today, what were they saying? Is it going to come closer that more of us are going to be seeing this with our visible eyes, up close and personal?
Yeah. Well, I've been working on how and why they saw it, because they obviously did see it. And in the early days of the research, I was working with a doctor of geology. He would come out and we'd be filming at some of these megalithic sites. And we filmed at a site that Peter took us, well, 3 sites actually. We filmed at the Giant's Grave on the Gower. And we filmed at, I don't even know what these things are, because they'll give them names, but it doesn't really explain them because there were no burials in them. We filmed on Penmine Burrows. And we also filmed at Carrig, I think it's Carrig Sampson, Mineketty or Kefenbryn, which is on the it overlooks Oxwich to the one side and the Locher Estuary to the other. And on the filming of the Penmine Burrows, my dog was in the shot. Right now, this is the thing that led us to the conclusions, and then we went to look for the rock art, because at the time we didn't know that the rock art existed. So we're winding the clock back to pre-2005, and my dog now these you probably won't know much of how the orb converts into a bar. I got some videos on there. They're not the greatest quality because the equipment we used is not, you would really need to be using 80 to 100,000 pound pieces of kit to get the best definition and defining the motion of these things properly. So anyway, my dog is sat in the front of the shot, and her attention is gained by something. So she's looking outside of the shot, which has got a black blanket. So we set up a black blanket so we can film any particle traveling across the face of it. And the dog watches as this bar, now you've heard of the bars, me talk of the bars, it went between John, or went in through, I would say it went through John, because John was holding the other side of the blanket, because we couldn't get it attached, because there were stinging nettles there. And the dog watched that travel through John and out of shot. Now my dog was watching this, and of course, dogs and animals can see in the infrared spectrum. If I take my dog in the woods, she can run round, she can jump, and she can run as fast more or less as fast she does in the day as in the night. And so she could see it. She could see that bar that my camera could record, but I couldn't see. So there's something in animals' eyes that can see it. So I did a bit of research on this, and there's a thing called a cryptochrome. Now, we have them in our eyes, and they are photosensitive cells that are thought to respond to magnetic fields. And if you do so that there's some research now going on into cryptochromes in birds' eyes, and they reckon that they see magnetic strands and fields, and that's how they navigate around the planet. But we have those in our eyes. Now, something acting on the cryptochromes in our eyes could be the mechanism for us to see this particle again. It also is another part of the theory that I've been working on, is a more energetic Earth and a quicker rotation. And I've been predicting a quicker rotation since 2007, and we know that these tsunamis knock milliseconds off the rotation of the Earth, and so it is all falling into place. This is why I can be reasonably confident that back in 2007 I was predicting that there'd be a quicker rotation, and the Earth is rotating quicker. Now, there's nothing in the mechanisms of a linear mechanistic model that will provide for the Earth to rotate quicker. They'll say that there is, but there isn't. And so as we get more energy to charge our magnetic field, our spin becomes quicker. The Earth's rotation becomes quicker. There's more energy there's a higher magnetic field within our Earth and Sun, and the orbs are seen. Whether that magnetic field is acting on our cryptochromes in our eyes, it could be a bit of everything. But these cryptochromes in birds' eyes allow them to see magnetic. They are magnetic cells, and they respond to magnetic fields. So they alter the optical effects of birds' eyes, and therefore they concluded that they must be able to see them. Well, my dog sees it because I got a video of it. You know, you see a cat looking at it. You see babies looking at things.
Well, yeah, I mean, at this point, I would have to be honest with you, Paul, and say, up until watching, your videos, my sole interpretation of seeing orbs was spirit energy.
Well, yeah, I could go the Shinto route, which is everything. The rocks have spirit. I don't like the word, but, everything has this life force. Everything is contained within the prana or chi.
Yes, I guess what I'm wrapping my head around now is sort of, the way I lean in my thinking, as above, so below, is that now, this cosmic event of orbs is coming. And I kind of like your thinking there on perhaps that's what Nibiru is. It's why, from the little bit I've looked in to it, okay, you have stories about astronomers back in the 1800s having some theories on, of course, more planets in the solar system, but later on, when other astronomers went looking for them, it was like, no, there's nothing there. Well, maybe for that one astronomer, somehow they were seeing something.
There's a thing called the Ashen Lights, right? Which is some people see and some people don't. It's also described as, when the moon is, they talk about a thing called moonshine, not the drink now.
Yeah.
They talk about, you can see the moon even though it's in shadow.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's called moonshine, right? Now, the Ashen Lights and the moonshine to me are just magnetic particle. When you're in the woods, right, at night, you will see a red energy slide over a black energy. Look at television, you get the white noise. You know when you've got a television that isn't tuned in properly?
Right.
You get that fuzzy picture, that fuzzy white stuff on the screen. Have you ever seen that?
Yep.
Well, at night, in the woods, because I spend a lot of time at night in the woods, my eyes are sensitized, and they can see a red, like a red particle, like the white noise, but it's only red, moving over black shadow, very small now. This is tiny stuff. This is like pinpoints of light, right? And as it slides over things, you can make out. I can see in the dark. Or my eyes are good in the dark compared to other people. Now, when you look at the Ashen Lights in the sky, you can see certain. I think it's I forget which planet the Ashen Lights are on, Jupiter or whatever. But I forget which one it is anyway. But what it is magnetic particle moving over the magnetic field, which is then illuminating the you can see in a telescope something that other people cannot see. So you get one person, and it was only when a famous astronomer recognized the Ashen Lights and named them so, that anyone, because he was, he wasn't just an amateur astronomer, and everyone had talked about it for years, they accepted it as a theory. And so what one person sees isn't always the same as what somebody else sees.
Right.
So.
Paul, let's take a moment. Got to take a commercial break here. Get a drink, stretch your legs. I'm like sitting here. I kind of just apologize to my chat room. Like, oops, sorry. I'm so intently listening here because this what we're talking about has been being talked about. You just bring this new perspective, and while I was waiting to connect up with you, that I said really what pulls me towards you, your videos when you put them up, and listening to you right now talking, is I'm like, the scientific jumbo mumbo language is thrown in there a lot of times, and I'm like, you just put it into real good layman terms that can be understood, because sometimes even when I'm reading the language of science, so to speak, part of me is going, whoa, but some part of my brain is acknowledging and going, I get it, don't worry about it. It's strange.
Well, it's part of the illusion, isn't it? I mean, you create another language for something, and you don't let anyone into it. So science creates language. They do it in work, and I'll go to more. Occasionally there'll be ba 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 ba, and I'll go, do you mean to say that this is this, and this? Why don't you want to put it in that simpler terms? Why don't you want to?
Like a legal document, they don't. It's kind of like, look,
but
we're going to tell you, but we're going to complicate it.
Well, that's right, because it's self-interest, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
If they make it understandable, then the illusion is gone, then the control is gone, then your vicar has to get out of the pulpit. The vicar's in the pulpit, the scientist is in his thing, the solicitor's in his office. I mean, and there's a sleight of hand going on to deceive.
Right.
The vicar.
I think the statement on, events are happening that we just didn't realize would happen in our lifetime. I think that all of the people who like to play the sleight of hand games are finding themselves quite surprised. It is happening, and these people, they're all going to catch on.
Yeah, well, the New Age movement is right. So the science world. I love science. I think it is so essential. But you talk about principles of science, and the fundamental principle of science is seeking truth.
Right.
Now if that was stuck to rather than seeking funding or seeking plagiarism in science is beyond. They'll nick anybody. I'm not saying that every scientist, but you've got people who will plagiarize other people's work.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to say, can I trust this individual? And in life, there aren't many I could trust. Now that you may say, oh well, that's a very sinister way of looking at things. But there are only I've lived a life of kindness to people, and in my actions, and there are people around me who know that I've lived my life of kindness to people.
Right.
Everyone knows.
I agree. And I would say, those of us listening to you talking right now would all agree with you that, we spend a lot of time talking amongst ourselves, as I call it, doing the detective work. Here's what we have. Now you have to rip it apart, look for keywords, read between the lines, because who can you trust anymore? Who is telling the truth? And it's like they feel they all are, but they're doing it in a very hard manner. And
like I have worked on this project. It has cost me thousands and thousands of pounds. I've taken time. I've taken 2-3 years, nearly 3 years off work to focus on it full, without any work coming in, without any money coming in. I got family with children to concentrate on this, and I've sought my own truth. I didn't. You see, most of these Orb researchers, and they make you laugh, right? Their destination is their starting point. An orb is the spirit of the dead, and that's it. So they do their research, and it ends up a self-fulfilling prophecy. That does nobody any good. The soul is carried in a sphere, in an orb. I am absolutely certain of it. But that's only just a tiny slither of the process. This process delivers life force to plants. It's the placebo effect. It's the thing you can use for remote viewing. It's an energy, if you can. Now, I can't control that energy to move objects. Because I've moved objects without touching them. But the thing is, to control it is beyond.
Yeah.
So what we're talking of is as this energy intensifies, and of course I'm going to try some demonstrations of remote viewing, pushing part. So if I was to say, right, well, if there's anyone who rings up or whatever, what I will do is push energy onto their electrical field. So we have a body, right? We have a body. If I said to you, move your toe, you can think and move your toe. But there's nothing connected to your toe. There's no pulley from your brain that pulls the lever that makes your toe move. And in fact, there is only, it doesn't run down a vein. It runs down an electrical circuit to send the signal. But that is, in effect, your brain is central to the thought, wherever your thought is. These things are far too big of questions. But you think of something, and you can move an object. You can move your toe. And when you start to think about it, there's nothing, because if you said, well, is there an electrical meridian that runs through the body, or an electrical ley line that thought runs down to move your toe? Everyone in the medical profession will go, oh, no, there's no electrical meridian like the ancient Hindus and everyone else is telling us. Oh no, we don't like that language. We'll get rid of that. Well, we know that there is an electrical signal that flows down an electrical field through the body.
And
yet we treat it with chemicals.
Right.
So it's like so that if you imagine moving that toe, it's like remote viewing. The cells in your body aren't really conscious of you, and yet they feed into the system. And so the system is you. There's lots of processes going on in you which know nothing of you, other than they're doing what they're supposed to. And on the earth, so we're doing what we're supposed to, or we're not at the moment, because we're behaving, humanity is behaving particularly bad. I mean, it hates the earth, it hates nature. There are elitists who think that they're above all these natural forces. I mean, if the Illuminati want to chop down every single tree and pollute every river, they're not going to live very long. You know, so they're gonna have some sort of reverence, and they can't just have this superiority and say, well, we're going to exterminate, everything that we want to touch, we want to suppress, or we want to keep it for us because we're chosen one of the 12 tribes of Israel or whatever, or however they see it. You know, they're psychopaths.
Yeah, I think we've all established that and agree with that one, Paul.
You know, so they have no understanding of it. But when you connect to this field, you can view anything. You can view. So now you're moving your toe, and you're thinking, and there's a pulse or a charge that is going down to your toe and moving it. So when I do some remote viewing, or viewing the field, I can look at people. I created like a little stick man in my mind, and I just put my hand over them, and I can feel where they have any ailments, and energy is leaking out of their bodies. And
then let's, Paul, let's take that break I said about. If there's anybody listening, the number is 347-324-3704. If you have questions or if you want to take part in Paul's demonstration of remote viewing, because it's very interesting. The last time Paul and I talked, there's been a few times certain people that I've been talking to. It could be someone who just calls in, or another show I co-host on. He might have a guest on. That when they're talking, I start heating up, as I call it, and connecting to their energy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be anxious to see what happens too, because like right now I'm just nice and fine, but just knowing that you're going to direct yourself this way.
Yeah.
Join in as a Reiki practitioner. So let's take this commercial break. Paul, feel free to get a drink, stretch your legs.
Okay.
Do something. I'll probably be running at least a good 5 minutes worth because I've been a naughty girl and I've overextended us, so I got to get some commercials out here.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Hang in there.
Yep.
We'll be back, and feel free to call in again, 347-324-3704. Okay, we'll be right back.
Do you believe we are not alone? Are you intrigued by the paranormal and psychic phenomena? Have you ever wondered if there was something abnormal about how the society operates? Do you believe you are here to do more on this planet? Do you feel as though you are living in a prison country or planet rather than a sovereign nation? Does it feel like you never had any constitutional rights, or that they are ignoring it as if it wasn't important? Join me, Joanna Johnston, psychic empath and spiritual warrior, on Illuminating Minds on freedomizerradio.com every Sunday night, 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, beginning on January 8th, to move further down the rabbit hole.
Hi, folks. Joanne Moretti here, inviting you to tune in at 6 p.m. Eastern, that's 3 p.m. Pacific, Monday through Thursday, for Liberty Underground and Moretti Report, the best 6 o'clock news on the web. Please join me, as well as my great co-host JoJo Norton, and our chat moderators Lynn and Anna, as we bring you the latest news, current events, analysis, and an occasional featured guest. That's 6 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Thursday, right here on Freedomizer Radio.
Hey folks, Valerie Sergeant Martin here, rebel agitator, Republican renegade, and host of the Valerie Sergeant Martin Show. Twice weekly I bring you guests who represent the best and brightest of the liberty movement, including best-selling authors, candidates, and legislators, and everyday activists All patriots actively involved in taking back control of our government, putting power in the hands of the people where it belongs. We also talk economics, finance, international markets, and monetary policy. Anything and everything to do with free markets and capitalism. So friend me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, and join me Sundays 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern and Thursdays 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern for the Valerie Sargent Martin Show. And remember, extremism in defense of liberty is no vice.
Hey, Val Villano here. I want to encourage you to stop by on Sunday nights from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time, right here on Freedomizer Radio. Val Villano Show, we will be covering things of deprogramming from the world and the system, and dogma, and religion. Basically, anything and everything that's going to set your minds free, and that's what it's all about, people. So come on by Sunday nights, 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time, right here, where freedomizers are fighting for their freedoms.
Hi, Freedomizers and friends. I'm Tiger Lily, show host for Tiger Lily's Freedom Roar on freedomizerradio.com. My life's work is to expose tyranny, corruption, and how we in America are nothing more than slaves. A good friend of mine said that if it wasn't for police officers, politicians could not take away our freedoms, and he's absolutely correct. I've got grisly story after grisly story to prove that cops are the top most dangerous threat to our remaining liberties. In addition to my Sunday 6 p.m. shows, I now have 2 primetime shows on Mondays and Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Please join me as I use my show like a flashlight to make the cockroaches of society withdraw with the fear they should have when the masses awaken to the truths untold by mainstream media. Only on Tiger Lily's Freedom Roar.
In these troubling times, we should all be thinking about food security. That is why CJ and Tallulah started Patriot Pantry. Patriot Pantry offers a delicious assortment of gourmet meals and beverages. Just add water, heat, and eat. Made and grown in America, except for a few tropical fruits, all natural, GMO and irradiation-free, kosher, and a gluten-free selection. Most of the products have a 25-year shelf life and are packed for easy storage. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks in a wide variety of packaging to fit every need and budget. So get your food freedom today. Visit patriotpantry.gofoodsglobal.com. That's patriotpantry.gofoodsglobal.com. And find Patriot Pantry on Facebook and Twitter, too. Thank you from CJ and Tallulah.
Okay, welcome back to freedomizerradio.com. This is Pathosages with you.
Hiya.
My special edition of the Purple Shift. I'm here with my guest, Paul Muir, researcher to Orb and bar wave energy. Welcome back, Paul.
Hiya.
And,
yeah.
Yeah. What were you doing? Because, see, I said about heating up, and I'm, running my commercials, and I'm like, oh, Paul must be doing something.
Yeah, it's this energy work is was this the near-death experiences that I had allowed me to feel this energy, and in feeling this energy, I alongside with the disciplines of doing the research, I understood the total process. I think if anyone had come to researching the Orb bar wave without an understanding or an ability to feel the energy, I think that they could have ended up down different paths, and they probably would have never have got to the rock art would have ever got to the biological, how the orb looks like cells. You know, how the universe looks biological. You know, how the whole thing is a mirror of the very small and the very large. And I think only through the major breakthroughs we had in terms of working with energy, feeling the magnetic fields of the earth, the ability to dowse, and the ability to use this energy for, you know, this stuff is actually the thing of placebo. So, you know, one interesting thing is the placebo effect was running at about 30%, I think it was. It's now suddenly started to increase. And is there any reason why why should giving someone a sugar pill now increases percentage of success?
Well, if I was going to answer that, I would say because if the number has changed, I'm hoping that it's because more people are tapping into the power within themselves.
Or that
thinking.
Or that the energy of placebo has increased. So the thing that delivers, so this is why people live longer, you know, in a higher magnetic field. In a higher magnetic field, the orbs are charged higher, they deliver more energy, cells divide quicker, and we all get better. And we live for hundreds of years. Now, it's just an idea.
Mm-hmm.
But if cells start to divide quicker, then there could be two effects. You can either burn out or you become healthier. You know, so this placebo, so now the orbs over power stations are seen.
Right.
They gain more energy. If you imagine that this energy, this orb bar wave is the energy of healing. It's the thing that delivers all frequencies of energy. Then as we get more of this energy, there'll be a mixture of energy coming through the Van Allen belts, which will be recharging our magnetic field and causing the rebirth of the sun, which the ancients told us about. The ancients told us about the weakening of the heliosphere, the bubble around the Earth. They said that in the end of the age of Kali, the stars will shine brighter.
Oh, okay.
You know, they're already telling us. Now, you know, what have we heard from all different researchers? All this, all the stars in our solar system, you know, are shining brighter.
Yeah, I mean, I can vouch for saying in our chat room here, a lot of evenings, you know, see what's this really bright star and what's that really, boy, it's really, that it's brighter.
And of course, what you can say is with our, it can be a dual effect, right? But let's say, for instance, now we've got the net curtain that is our heliosphere has got bigger holes in it. More light will come through it. So that as our heliosphere becomes weaker in a solar minimum, we get more light into our solar system from the stars outside of our solar system. So there's more light coming through the weakened the weakened sun's protective bubble of all our planets in our solar system. Do you see what I mean? Can you get that?
Yeah, and that's why I'll tell you, Paul. I mean, it's like that's why I'm loving you, because like I say, I do get it when I listen to you talk about it.
These scriptures like are 4,000 years old. Or the Vedas, where it comes from, the Vedas, the Vedic scriptures, the Kali Yuga. And, I couldn't give you a historical date. I know that the Enunaralish, which is the Sumerian, is on cuneiform tablets, and I think they reckon that the oldest one is 700 BC, and that's the oldest written word. But these things are passed down as they're sung, and they were songs. I don't know whether that's the oldest recording, but the yugas. I'm not a specialist in Hindu or anything, because I'm a specialist in the Orb wave. All I know is that the heliosphere is weak, and it will revert back to becoming strong as soon as the sun goes into its rebirth. And while it's weak, we get more light in. But the scriptures told us that. It's only when I started to look and go, hang on a moment, they told us that the stars were going to be brighter at the end of when the age changed. So we're already being told it. The Hopi told us that the Orbs would be seen because their kachinas will take the masks off. The earth chi and the heaven chi will meet. The revelation is to reveal. It's not. It's been sold as a doom and gloom.
Right, and I don't like going down the avenue of doom and gloom.
No,
I'm like, look, guys, I know it's out there, but it's not for me. If you're going down the doom and gloom path of the stories out there now, then that's because you're just still really hanging on to, as I call it, you're really owning your physical body, and you fear losing it. Me, I'm an energy. I'll be ready to transition to wherever.
Yeah, well, I just see it as that it makes no difference. Could you tell me absolutely what's going to happen within your next hour of your life? Nope. You could say, well, yeah, I can predict it. I'm going to be still on this radio interview or whatever. But this is the joy of it. The joy of life is just by living it, and you have a choice. Then you can say, well, knowing something. There were times when I was looking at this research and I was going, oh my God, I can see it, I can see how it works, I can see it, and it was, it did become a bit, like, oh my God, this could happen or that could happen or whatever. There's loads of potentials of what could happen, but what does a day of worrying do? It doesn't do anything. It doesn't add anything to your life. It doesn't make you a greater person. What you do is you live your life in bliss. And people say, well, that's a really foolish thing to say, living your life in bliss. But when you've had hardship, and when you get over that hardship, and I have had hardship, it doesn't come from some idiot laughing and joking. I have had hardship, and I can guarantee you I've had hardship. And if you face that hardship and you face your own ego properly, you will get through it, and you will find bliss in tragedy.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I know exactly.
Because it's great learning. I mean, let's say your life goes along and it's hunky dory, great, I got this yacht, I got this so and so, I got this so and so, I got this so and so, but you learn nothing. There's no thanks to your good fortune. If you believe in a God, there's no thanks to that. Force, there's no thanks for anything. It's only when the crap happens that all these people go praying to God, and my life is falling apart or whatever. But what happened when the good times were there? If there is that type of God, there is a creative force and there is a creator. But I mean, for me to put a handle on it would be arrogant. I mean, all I can say is those near-death experiences teach me that the soul's eternal. But we never give thanks when the crap happens, so that we can learn not to be a donut again. We never say thank you for teaching us that fire will burn. What we will do is repeat those patterns. We will never break. We will never, the woman who gets a man who beats her and she goes, "Oh, God, he beat me." Maybe she was brought up in a family that says, "Oh, I love you," and then they bash each other, and then she understands that is love, and then she goes out and gets a partner who will beat her, and then she'll say, "Oh, I've been beaten," and then she'll "Oh, well, I don't want to be beaten anymore, I'll finish with him, or the police, put him in prison for beating her," and then she goes out and gets another one.
Right.
And another one. And any psychotherapist will know that there are people who are caught in these circles of life who cannot break them because they do not understand that their conditioning of love is not love. That is not love. Someone, and I mean it's an obvious one, bashing someone. I love you. There's all these men who go away and play away. Well, they love their wife, but they still find it acceptable, and women who do it. For every man that's playing away, there's a woman. Either there's one woman having a hell of a time. Do you know what I mean? I mean, we paint these pictures. And we end up in these circles, and only when we can break away from them, only when we can smash these things, and give praise for the bad times. If you want to, and give praise. Do you understand what I mean? It's like,
let me tell you, Paul, I am totally, following you, and I'm following you in the sense that, I acknowledge life as it's ongoing lessons all the time. I tell people, look, school never quits, and guess what? Every thought you have, that's school. Every decision you make, it's school. It's the school of your personal experience to wake up to who you are and what you're doing here.
Yeah, that's it. The absolute purpose of it. And then when you have that absolute purpose, there are people in life who have that who have in the past Martin Luther King, Gandhi. They have that purpose. It's like as though nothing would faze them. They wouldn't care what came towards them, and didn't. Bill Cooper.
Right.
I'm doing this, and the consequences of this I care not for. It's like this orb by wave. I'm just delivering it. I mean, I could have gone down the publishing route. I was offered some of the scientists wanted to take some of the geological samples I hold, blah blah blah, and I could have gone. This is for mankind. Now you say, well, those are big statements because it's we're seeing more plasma balls in the sky, fireballs. You just go on the internet and you can see the increasing numbers of them,
right? And
you can see what the Illuminati's videos are, the War of the Worlds with spheres with things in them. They know about this stuff. Edgar Mitchell's seen, when he went up to the Van Allen belts. He's the first man. Not Ed Mitchell. Anyway, he was the second man not to stand on the moon. When he was in space, they were seeing orbs. the tether incident, and probably a lot of people who have looked into the New Age thing will see orbs. Orbs are seen in magnetic fields. As the magnetic fields increase, we'll see them. Do you know what I mean? I mean, Hutchinson was making them with his Tesla coils. But of course, as this magnetic field starts to increase, our connection to the field itself increases. So the Earth starts to rotate quicker. We get a higher energetic field, Earth field. The meridian that sends a signal to your toe now is the meridian that runs through the Earth. And we connect to each other. There are a number of cases. I've noticed recently I can think something and it will happen. And not...
Yeah.
I'm not making it happen now. I can think, I wonder when my son will come in. And he puts his key in the door.
Yeah.
It's not me making him put the key in the door. It's me connecting with him being there. And there are lots of little things like people are getting maybe the bits of deja vu or the phone's ringing. You'll know who it is. And this communication will be through the field itself. And that is what the remote viewing is. So what I'll do is I'll do a demonstration, right? Have we got any callers who want to have a shot at it, or is there anybody?
I've got callers, but they're not raising their hands. So I won't force them. Those of you that are calling in, you want to participate in any way, please hit 1 to let me know.
What if there's anyone in the chat? If there's anyone in the chat room who just wants to post something and remain anonymous, I'll see if I can pick up a broken bone or whatever. Is there anyone in the chat room who's there, or?
Let me see what they're.
See if there's anybody who can post anything up.
I'm going to ask. And I'm asking in the sense of allowing you to tap into their energy field.
Yeah.
I always honor. I never invade. I ask.
There was It's a difficult one because you have to keep that in check. There's sometimes you get curious, right, and you'll have a look, and.
Yes, I can relate to that. I went through that period in my life until I adjusted to it, Paul. I kind of quit going out for a little bit. Why? Because when you do tap into it and you don't realize how easy it's going to be, I had uncomfortable moments. I mean, if I did start talking to somebody about something, hey, I got called a witch and other names, and I realized I was like, oh my gosh, it's like I'm a human antenna, for crying out loud. Yeah. And then I started.
I don't like the big stores. I don't.
Yeah, I started trying to turn myself off.
Yeah. I spend most of my time in the woods with the dogs, and I know it's not an easy way to live, but you say, things have to get done, but I minimize my connection, although I'm an affable chap, and I'll have a laugh with people, and people will come to my house all the time, and we'll, but I tend to avoid large crowds. The only time I'm probably in a rugby match when I go and watch some of the boys play rugby and stuff like that. But I
kind of learned a little bit. I used to when I would go. If I was working when I was working, you learn to tune it out. If you just were kind of doing your thing, I would wear headphones and, be listening to music. And I also experienced a lot of times, and that's why I say I basically was associating energy with just that which was here on the planet. of, going, say, into somebody's house or into an establishment and having those moments of going, alrighty, here. And it's like, what's the problem? And it was picking up the bad energy that was in there, and I was just like, oh, I have to get out of here because I learned the hard way, kind of about, what some people call now energy vampires.
Well,
you
see, if you imagine them as a magnetic bar, and so their energy field. So each person has an energy field, and as they walk up to you, they pull energy off you. Because the word stronger is not a good word. The word negative is not a good word. But they have a field of energy which rips energy from you, and they leave your energy field depleted. So they are actually pulling this particle of your life force away from you. So they feel good and you feel weaker.
Right.
And that is the energy vampire. They manifest themselves in elderly mothers or elderly people, selfish people. Often a grandparent will use the life force of a child.
Don't you? And boy, you see that playing out a lot.
Well, you'll see,
sucking life out of their children, living
That's
vicariously through them. Oh my gosh!
And but that is an energy transfer, and there was a time when I was working with. I work with frequencies of energy. I work with the orbs. I work with some large ones. Some of them they're not really useful. Some of them will regenerate magnetic fields, right? And I was working with a particular energy source. These things are private, really. I know I'm putting them out there, and in me was this energy that wasn't suitable for anybody. It was just an energy. It would be like saying, well, you've got to make this you've got to make this energy to heal this toxic place on the earth. You've got to use this energy. So it's in you, and it's not very nice. It's not for humans to be working with, right? Well, my mother was particularly ill, and I knew she'd been taking energy off me, so I rang her up and I said, Mum, have you been ill over the last 3 days? And she said, yeah, I've been thinking about you and whether you can do any healing work on me. I said, don't go taking my energy because it'll make you even worse. Because this energy is not to be taken off me. My mum didn't realize that she was pulling this energy, which I was using for something else. Just because
Paul,
she wasn't.
It's amazing you bring that up, between you and your mother. Because I experienced a lot. I never looked at it like, my mom's pulling energy off of me. I had very often experienced me getting up with some sort of ache and pain somewhere that is certainly not what I'm accustomed to. I know my weak spots from a car accident, okay? But, this would just be like, what is this? And, lo and behold, it was like I'd call up my mother, and I'd just be like, how you doing? And it'd be like, oh, my hip is killing me. And I'm thinking, I thought so, because, mine is killing me. Yeah. But I just kind of took that as, your close association, mine with my mother, even my sister, that something will be going on with me, and I call them up just to do that. Hey, how are you doing? Because I know, what they're going to say, because it'll be like, I got it. Yeah. And that's what I was experiencing when I first started doing Reiki, and really talked about a lot with my teacher. And she was explaining to me that really, even before doing the healing work, she's like, you're more of a true empath.
Yeah.
Really, truly feeling, because that's what was happening to me, and that was freaking me out. And I was kind of like, as much as I want to do this, I might not be able to do it because, look, a good friend who got diagnosed with a brain tumor, and just when I would work on him, everything I was feeling, I felt he was feeling, because when they had called up and said he got diagnosed with this brain tumor, that's all they had said. We went to the hospital, and after working on him for about 15 minutes, and I started getting the pain in my head, and then I asked his fiance at the time, when he's in pain, I says, is it in the back of the head? And it feels like it's, shooting out the front. And, she just looked at me and she was like, oh, my God, how would you know that's how he feels?
Yeah.
And I'm like, because I just feel it. I felt it. And I now, I have such a headache. I was left with this headache. And, so it was kind of like dealing with that. So I stuck more to it in doing it at the Healing Center, where it was a group of us. I was just staying at the apprentice level, working with someone who had far more experience than me at knowing how to, divert things. And then, when the evening was done, kind of us working on each other to clean ourselves out, because as much as you feel you protect yourself, it gets to you if you have that empath quality about yourself. And I'm like, to even do this, I think you're just a natural born empath.
Yeah. Well, I think that, I think it's essential that we connect to the field. Like I see this, so the connection from my thought to my toe is an electrical field, or electromagnetic field, or an energy field, whatever you want to class it as. I mean, the scientists will want to use some sort of neural pathway or whatever it'll give to it. But if you're standing on this earth and we're encased in the earth's energy fields, then we should be able to see. You see, I don't see. I use my hand, so I don't use my mind. I get my mind totally out the way, and I just use the hand, and I then will view any spirals that push out of an individual, or any energy disturbances from an individual. So shall I try with you now?
Sure.
So what I'll describe now is I'm holding, so you don't mind me pushing energy, because I'll either read it or push. You don't mind me pushing some energy so you can just feel it, or should I just read it?
Well, yeah, I'm open, so you can.
All right, you're okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so. Right, so this so I'm just holding my hand up to a stick person, or an image of what your field is, sitting on a field, and I've got let me, because I tend to get my left and right mixed up, so I've got a little bit of a shudder coming from, now this is leaking energy from your right bottom jaw. So is that like, is there toothache? Like I would say it's, there's a little bit of a shedder of energy there.
Mm-hmm.
What, have you got toothache on that side or something, or it's on the? I would say it would be your premolars maybe area on the bottom part of the jaw.
You're right on. I have a tooth that broke that haven't had time to go take care of. Yep. And it's only a little shedder, so there's not that much. I can feel the energy, and that feels like a bird's wing leaking out of your jaw. So it's like fluttering wings in the palm of the hand, right? So do you smoke? Yep.
Yeah, I can feel that.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I can feel that. Right. So there's slow spirals. They're not aggressive spirals, right? On the lungs, and then like what have you got on your wrist? Because I can feel this. Like again, this because it's your field is pretty easy for me to look at. Sometimes I'll be sick when I'm looking at people's fields, right? Because that's the empath in the pull energy. So is your mother still around?
Yes.
No, is your family susceptible to arthritis?
Yes.
I can feel that because when I played cricket, I used to play cricket, right? And, not as a serious level. I think I had about 3 or 4 serious games of cricket in my life, But when I played cricket, I broke my little finger, and whenever I come across the energy field of anyone who's got little bits of arthritis, my finger goes stiff. So I can feel it in my little finger that I broke it one week, and I broke it another week, or 2 or 3 weeks later. So you can feel that vibration. I would take garlic capsules, and there's a product in Britain called acidophilus, and that restores. I wrote a publication about the light that I was seeing emitting from the brain when I was doing some healing. And it's about plaque and the gut, but I mean it's too much to go into. But it's like a beneficial bacteria. If you take that will help.
Say the name again.
Acidophilus. You'll see it on Wikipedia. It is, but Solgar make it. They're Solgar. I don't know whether you would have that in the States, would you? Like a health food people. It's like a bacterial culture to the chemicals, right? The chemical. When we take chemicals into the gut, they destroy the living environment of the gut. It allows toxins into the blood, and that is cigarette smoke or chlorine, fluoride, anything into the blood system. The calcium in the body then is so poor, and I was talking to a doctor about this, and he said, how on earth have you worked this out? And it was only because I could see the light from these particles when I was doing healing. So calcium in the blood is porous. You know, like if you stuck an egg in a eggshell, it'll absorb any smells. You know, if you crushed up eggshell, if you put chalk next to an onion, the chalk would smell like an onion. It's porous, right? So what happens is the calcium now absorbs the toxins, it sticks to let's say the cell, it sticks to the heart wall, and it calcifies, and then they crack, and the cholesterol sticks into the crack walls of the cell, and it causes heart attacks. Or this plaque then, the toxins stick to the calcium and they stick into the brain. But what it is the calcium process is being poisoned by living, by the toxins they're putting into our food, into our drinks, into the water. And what it is so basically your gut now needs to be protected, and not only from smoking, because obviously you must. Then, as a nature, you must worry a bit. Do you?
Do I worry about the smoking?
Things? No, worry about things.
Oh, yes.
Do you have a bad stomach?
On and off, but honestly, yes. The last 2 weeks, I've been.
Yeah, you need to. That's right. So you need to protect the gut environment, and garlic is a good one. I used to pickle garlic in honey, manuka honey, and stuff like that, and vinegar. That's another good one. Your anti-fungicides, your antibacterial, manuka honey, acidophilus. Because I was poisoned. I said I was poisoned with toxins. And so obviously that was the reason. I mean, my bowel was bleeding. I was losing a pint of blood every time I went to the toilet. So basically what it was that I needed to protect that gut from the damage of the toxins that I took. So that's why I can feel it from you. And no, I'm not suggesting that your field is bad in any way. I mean, it's just these minor things. If you want to improve the situation, then you can just take these very simple, garlic capsules or whatever, and that will help. And that will help control it. And I'm proof of that, because I've been able to come from a point where I had 2 near-death or 3 near-death experiences to a person who functions reasonably well. For a man.
It's interesting, we've moved over to this topic because the other night on someone else's show, a woman started talking about herbs.
Yeah.
And I started listening, and let's see, I wrote down skull cap. I remember writing that one down, and saying to myself, listening to the show, I really need to get back to a little bit of a healthier.
Yeah. Well, to be honest.
What else are you picking up?
Well, your wrist, on your wrist, on your left hand. What is across? Something across your wrist. Now that. Tell me about.
I'm wearing a bracelet at the moment.
And is it magnetic?
It does.
Is it quartz or what?
Well, the one I have on right now does have some metal on it. Maybe somehow, is it affecting?
No, because the other one is I could feel something across the wrist, right? I don't know whether you've seen have you seen the video where the bars entered into my body on YouTube? You know when I'm working with energy. Have you seen it when they enters into the left hip? You know the bars, one of them comes into the left hip and stays on the left hip until another bar comes towards the wrist and enters the left wrist. And the left wrist is where energy enters into the body. And that ancient shaman had the tattoos. He had quartz tattooed into his wrist. And that was from about 3,000 or 4,000 years ago. And he was one of the ice mummies from on the Swiss Alps.
They found him on my left hand, yes, I consider and call that my power hand, because with the Reiki, if you have a genuine Reiki master that's your teacher, and where a lot of people think, some people think they go to massage school, and I guess they kind of go over Reiki with them, and then it's like they're Reiki. And I have said to people, listen, if you're a genuine person and your essence is true and pure, really anybody can be doing healing. But when you go to a Reiki master teacher and it's going properly, at the end of each level you're going up, there's basically a ceremony you partake in, and the master teacher, if they're a master, they, see, this is where you talk about something, but you're not supposed to give everything away. They just kind of do something to one hand, and it's usually the left because it leads to the heart.
Yeah.
And it's more like it's your power hand. A lot of times, say, if you're doing healing, it's the one that will really get hot.
Yeah. I use both. I'll use either one or the other. It depends on how it responds to and which way it moves. The ancients talk about one hand being charged one way and one charged another way. They were like the yin and yang.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the one's prana, which prana Hindus, I think that is. You've got your ankle, right? So your ankle on your right leg. It runs actually on the knee or somewhere, but it's low down in it is at the right leg, right ankle. So what's your right leg? How's your right leg?
You're really being spot on here. I don't know what it is. You mentioned about the arthritis earlier. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know what's happening.
But it runs from the outside of the knee, on the outside of your knee, down to the outside of your ankle. So I don't know whether is there a walking gait problem or something? Are you putting pressure on your walk?
Sometimes that's what it feels like. I've been blaming myself. Let's see, maybe 5 years ago, I had my meniscus removed from my left.
What's
knee.
that?
They removed my meniscus out of my left knee because it was torn.
Right,
and,
so you carry it on the other leg.
You have to stop sitting that Indian style. And listen, my 82-year-old mother will still be sitting that way. I'm like, it's just in my DNA.
Yeah.
But I have this thing that'll happen with my ankles. It's the only way I can say when it happens is it's like if you're going down steps, instead of it feeling like it's just moving natural, like it should have its bend, my ankles will feel like they lock, like it locks up.
Yeah.
And then it's almost like I limp down the steps. But then it will go away.
Yeah.
But you're right. There's just been a little issue.
So on the right, it runs from the outside of your knee. Yeah. So I can and look at that. I can look at that and. Do you know? Here's one to do. There's nobody on the chat room now who's prepared to.
People in the chat room. This is all new to them. I know some other shows on different networks have. Done these types of things, and I read comments like, "Oh my gosh, I was blown away."
Yeah.
And I think, and I'm just being honest. I love all of my listeners and my chatters.
Yeah.
But this would be, maybe they've heard about this stuff, but.
Yeah. Well, we're just connected to this thing, It's just like, and as soon as we let go of our mind telling us that we can't do this, My son's friends, when he was growing up, I'd go feel the energy pouring on that leaf. And they go, where? And because I would be able, because I could find the energy of the leaf that's pouring out, I'd say, go to that leaf there, put your hand on the end of it, right on the very end, and they said, because they've never been shown how to do it, and they go, oh yeah, and then I'll say, feel the spiral coming out of this electrical cable by here, and then I'll say, oh, someone's ill, feel the spiral coming out of their, like I was working with a woman with Crohn's, and it's pouring out of her bowel. You could feel it just pushing your hand, like sticking the hand out of a car window, and you could feel it actually shuddering in your hand. Now, kids could do this because they haven't got any conditioning to tell them that they can't. So I did some interesting things. Do you know anybody, and you can just give me an initial, because I know that I can connect with you, of anyone who's, let's say, ill at the moment? Just give me an initial, or that person's name. Say somebody had broken a leg or an arm or had a shoulder or, because I won't push energy at them now, because I haven't pushed any energy at anybody. I'll just look at what their energy field is pushing out. Do you know anybody in the studio?
Well, in the studio, unless they'd want to post something personally going on with them, there would be one. I haven't seen her comment here in a little bit. She could be there and be away from her keyboard. Yeah. I'd be able to give her. Now, what if I gave you, say, someone in my family?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Yeah. Just give me a name or the person's name.
Okay. Michael. Oh, and I have a hand raised in on the phones now too.
Right. Well, Michael would be. I would say that he is very. He is shut down. He's disconnected. There is no output from his field. Now, that could come from him shut down or an autoimmune deficiency. When you get this, when you read in this energy, right, you get things like clockwise and anti-clockwise spin. You get pushes. You get ticks, pulses, fluttering like butterfly wings. All sorts of little bits and bobs. Now, Michael, I cannot get anything from him. So I would have to ask you why, or I can't. I would only say that that has occurred in people who are very doubtful of things, who that's a load of nonsense. They're very disconnected from everything. That's the one type of person that I've seen. Or the other one is when their immune system collapses. But I don't know. So could you tell me about him, or?
Actually, I'm talking about my hubby, and actually, you exactly what you said. Being shut down is exactly where I would say you're right on.
Yeah.
You
could have.
He's open to all of what we're talking about, because actually when I did my Reiki 1, he did it with me. But in the reference to the shutdown, he's just been experiencing for quite some time a state of mind that he's in. With a fellow person at work, and I've tried talking to him about you have to flip this somehow, because or letting it affect you. He has a back problem, and it's just really been out of control. And we all know. Look, when something's bothering you, if you've ever had an injury or anything like that, it becomes your weak point, and that's when that's where you'll carry it.
Yeah.
And so, very interesting that you would say shut down, because that's exactly.
You see, the thing is that I tend not to break through people who are shut down as a courtesy.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? Because it could be emotional, it could be just a disconnection, and because I haven't been invited, like you say, I don't push any. If I pushed energy at his field would respond. Do you know? I suppose I'm talking different.
And I would say, if you're imbuing him, do send energy to his back. But I mean that's kind of just how he's been. It's like he's tuned out, and it's just been brewing, and everybody just feels it here in the family. It's wow, we're just shut off, and it's kind of like, there you go, people. Things in life, if you let someone affect you.
Yeah. Did he? Is his father still around?
Yes. Interesting you bring that up.
Well, they're not the kind of things for the airways, are they really? Well, so what I'll do now, right, is if everyone listening, right, so what I'll do is I'll push energy so to see if they can feel some heat in the palm of their hands. So if they hold their both hands up, and what I'll do is I will and do you want to have a go at this as well, Paula?
Yeah, hey, I do, Paul. Can we take a commercial break first?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
I'm going to run commercials. I'm going to screen.
And then we'll see how any take a chat room or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have a caller here. I think I know who it is. I just want to make sure she wants to keep it to the remote viewing. Exactly what we're doing right now. But let's take this commercial break.
Yeah.
Because this will be good when you start this.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll be right back. Boy, I'm just having the greatest time. Actually, I'll be listening back to this show even.
Yeah.
All right, here we go, everybody.
You know the Constitution like the back of your hand. You've read books, listened to podcasts, attended lectures, surfed websites, and watched videos. You've made liberty your life's goal, but something seems to be missing. Stickers from LibertyStickers.com. Exercise your freedom of speech with the world's most dangerous bumper stickers. That's LibertyStickers.com. But wait, there's more. You can buy Liberty Stickers wholesale. Get them for 99 cents each when you put 100 or more in your shopping cart in any combination. Sell them or give them away. They're great for gun shows, flea markets, fairs, outreach, and more. Earn extra money, promote freedom, and spread the word. Need custom stickers, labels, or decals for your organization or business? Liberty Stickers makes them. Go to LibertyStickers.com to order or call 877-873-9626. LibertyStickers.com, the world's most dangerous stickers.
What's up with these sorry politicians? Lots of bark. When it's showtime, whimpering like little shih tzus. You want big cuts? Ron Paul's been screaming it for years. Budget crisis? No problem. Got $1 trillion year one. That's trillion with a T. Department of Education? Gone. Interior, Energy, HUD, Commerce? Gone. Later, bureaucrats. That's how Ron Paul rolls. Want to drain the swamp? Ron Paul. do it.
I'm Ron Paul, and I approve this message.
Hey Vicky Hottie in Reno, what are you doing on Freedomizer Radio on Thursdays 10:30 p.m. to 12 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and Fridays at 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. Pacific Standard Time?
Well, Donnie Gilson, I am going to be hosting the Heated Conversation. But you already know this because you co-host.
I sure do. Please join us as we talk about UFOs, the universe, comets, health and herbal medicine, paranormal activities, weather, planets, asteroids, earthquakes, spirituality, HARP, secret societies, and current events. I think we should add that we always have great guests, a packed chat room, and very interesting conversations, with your occasional quirky way we give the news.
Just remember, on Thursdays at 10:30 p.m. to 12 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and Fridays 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, the Heated Conversation. Oh, and by the way, we have our always fun chat room at freedomizerradio.com. That's freedomizerradio.com. Just click the chat and listen button. See you there.
Hey y'all, this is Ron with Ron's Media Matrix. I would like to invite you to listen to my show every Tuesday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And for our international listeners, that's 1800 hours to 2000 hours Greenwich Mean Time right here on Freedomizer Radio. I always interview a broad spectrum of guests ranging from entrepreneurs to the eclectic. I also like to keep you up to date on the latest breaking news in geopolitics, world events, astronomy, technology, science, and how it relates to the 21st century and an emerging global order. Be sure to visit our website at freedomizerradio.com, take part in our lively chat room, visit our sponsors, or read breaking news articles on our Twitter feed. You can also find out more about the wide variety of shows and hosts at freedomizerradio.com. If you'd like to comment or speak with a guest during the show, just give us a call at 347-324-3704.
Hey, Freedomists, join me, Proof Negative, weeknights, 9 p.m. to midnight Eastern, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific, as we fight the New World Order together, right here on Freedomizer Radio, your exclusive home of the Proof Negative Show.
Feeling the effects of all that GMO food? Has TB left you completely disconnected from the rest of man? Do you have any control over your life or that of your family? Want to know how to escape the Matrix? Then join me, Nikki, and together we can rise above dehumanization. Only on Freedomizer Radio. And you can catch me Monday and Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, that's noon Pacific time, and Saturdays, 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central, and 1 p.m. on the West Coast. Hope to see you there, Freedomizers.
Greetings, this is Blake the Eccentric, and I want to invite you to check out my new show on Freedomizer Radio, The Eccentric Perspective. It's sort of a red pill, blue pill, going down the rabbit hole kind of show, featuring outside-the-box politics, philosophy, and gonzo journalism. But be warned, with knowledge comes responsibility, and you might not see the world the same way again, as I will attempt to open your mind, speak to your common sense, and challenge your critical thinking skills. So please join me Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday from noon to 1:30 Pacific Time. Once again, that's Eccentric Perspective, only on Freedomizer Radio.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to freedomizerradio.com. I'm your host, Pathosages. This is a special edition of the Purple Shift. And been talking here with Paul Muir. And just so everybody knows, I'm sure they're hearing your accent, Paul, that you are from Wales. And it's probably getting rather late there, and you're kind enough to be here sharing your time with us. Yeah. And Paul was just spending some time doing remote viewing. Right on. It was everything he had to say about me. Made a couple of comments about my husband. Right on. Now we have Paul a caller. She's a friend here at Freedomizer Radio, named Sarah. She's excited. You want to go into your Om, but she would like to experience, since she's willing, some of your remote healing. Okay, Sarah, I opened up your mic. You're on live. Say hello to Paul.
Hi, Paul. This is Sarah.
Hiya, Sarah.
Thank you so much for all your work. It's really great, really great.
Yeah. Where you from?
Well, let's see. Most of my family was born that we know of, starting from the great-grandparents in New York City. I'm missing grandfathers on both sides. So it's pretty mixed ethnically, and I lived for a great deal of time. Once I was 20, I lived on Oahu, on the island of Oahu, for 15, 20 years. So I came across these kinds of practices right in the 70s, well, really in the 60s, because it was a non-drug form, okay?
Yeah.
And that became important to many of us in the 70s, late 70s.
Well, I'm anxious to hear what Paul
That's quite a challenge. I have a major
Sarah, thank you for volunteering to participate.
Yeah. So what I'll do then, what I'll do, Sarah, is I'll have a look at. Do you want me to have a look at your field?
Sure. That's I'm volunteering for that. So you can do some work.
Yeah. On your chest area, on the, do you play squash or something?
No.
I've got just a very gentle push, because I read pushes of energy.
Yeah.
So what I've got is like underneath the arm. Underneath the arm, there's a slight.
That's right. You're right. Good, very good.
On your, let me, because when I look at somebody, they face me, right? So I have to. Sometimes they'll face me, and sometimes they'll turn away from me. So I have to then turn it round to give you the arm.
And this is like that. This is complicated. Keep going. It's all right. You're right on.
Right arm, yeah. So what is that?
I'm not sure. It is a moving, strange. I think it's part of it. And I have not usually spoken in this kind of language because I know the history of this movement. But I have to because no one's listening to me. It's a strange. I think it's really an attack. It's a psychic attack. It started on my right side with Bell's palsy. I started to get acupunctured and have the money. She offered it to me in exchange because I was working so hard. She said that was interrupted. Then it moved to my left ankle. Then one morning I couldn't. Let me up to my right hip. Then my
Sarah, let him keep viewing you, Sarah.
I worked on this woman, and she had some real serious blockages of flows of energy and.
Mm-hmm.
And I cleared the blockage, and she said, "Oh, I've got no problem. I don't know whether it was a collapsed lung or something that she had." And she said, "I've had no." And I said to her, "Look, come back to me. Let me know, because once you unblock an energy field, the energy flows to the next place where it will block.
Mm-hmm.
It may block. It's a bit like saying, well, I've unblocked the kitchen sink."
But I can work with you. I know it's good.
You know what I'm saying? So what? So she, for weeks she had this bad toe. Her health problems had gone, right? Or the health problem that she came to see me for, and I can't remember it. But the energy, and she said I had a pain in the toe for weeks and weeks, and that's because it's a bit like you unblock something, the energy flows through it, and then it blocks in other places. So there is a blockage. There is a subtle flow there.
Yeah.
Do you use aerosols? I would avoid using aerosols.
No, not at all. Not at all.
You don't use them, do you?
No, really toxic environment. Very toxic environment.
Yeah, that's right. So you know the work on parabens then in aerosols, do you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So I mean, it's you know.
I don't use any. No.
No, that's right. That's right. I wouldn't use them. Right. What is?
Actually, I'm out of the house right now because of the energy. I think it's very electrical.
Hang on there.
Okay, right.
He's going to tell you more.
What? Tell me about your right hip.
My right hip?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
It's cold.
Yeah.
Why is that? And down to your right ankle, right foot as well.
Yes.
Does that make any sense?
Yes, there's an injury on my right foot. Yes, a childhood injury. Yes, on the bottom of the foot.
What did you do?
My mother's fault. It's on the very bottom of like the bottom where you step on half toe if you're doing ballet and you standing.
Right, yeah.
And I was doing ballet, lots of it at the time. I was very young, and I stepped on it. It's an injury that's related to my mother. And what a bad mother she is. And what a bad mother she is.
Yeah. And do you want me to push some energy at you or not?
Yes, thank you very much. I'll help you. God.
That makes for great radio.
That's great. It makes sound. So that's what I should do, maybe, huh? It's just, I told it move. But it's without Ted. It's really quiet.
Honestly, Paul, for anybody who's ever had the opportunity to hear the monks chant, I could tell, Paul, if you kept going, you could sound like an experience I had a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
20 minutes a chant.
Yeah.
And holy wow, I can't begin to tell people what it feels like when you're sitting right there.
Yeah.
But it's not about having to sit there. Me just listening to you right now, how powerful the Om is.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's frequency. You're vibrating your own It's like sometimes I learned these techniques and I've just learned them myself. I mean, you can sit. What happens is there's a tiny piece of white light in the heart, and I first saw it and I was a bit shocked about it because I thought, how can anyone's soul fit into that? And you can actually take yourself, if you diminish your ego enough, you can take yourself and sit in it. And then when you sit in it, you push through that field. It would take me too long to get into that. I mean, I may be able to do it on the radio, but it takes a bit of time to sit in that white light because you have to basically draw your consciousness into the heart. And then you push out that energy field, and you get a massive result. Well, in the past I have anyway. Is you get a massive result, and but I think it's a technique that is You need to be comfortable. You need to be still. I'll have a go. If everyone's listening, so they could each put their hands up, couldn't they?
Yeah.
The people
I'm
listening.
wondering what we did to Sarah. I mean, I'm sure she'll call back. She dropped off.
Yeah. So what I'll do, I'll see if I can gain that light then into the white light, and then push the light out, and then see if people on the chat room can just post up some comments, because all they got to do is just hold their hands out. Do you think that will work?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah. So it's anybody, 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 It's difficult to keep it going on the radio, isn't it?
Mhm. Well, you started sounding also to me. I've shared with my listeners during my regular program, hooked them up with a YouTube channel with the crystal bowl, the bowls.
Oh, they're wonderful, aren't they? They're wonderful.
Oh.
And I mean, you just.
I want to have a set.
Yeah, I was looking at it the other day, but it's like they are, it's so hit and miss. And the ones that you get on eBay, you're not sure of the sound. There's a couple of sites on the websites where they got the actual. They play the sound to the bowl, so before you can buy it. It's on like a video clip, sound clip. But the trouble is they're very expensive. They come out at $300. I mean, I was with there was a man who lived in a yurt, and he'd paid 700 sterling for a crystal bowl. But as soon as he banged it, I was like wobbling, because it was an amazing sound, It just hit you and hit your energy field and interacted with your energy field. And more people are gonna be feeling this. More and more people that are gonna, as this Earth's energy field intensifies, so more and more people are going to be going to the doctors with tinnitus, and it's not. They're hearing the actual frequencies of the Earth. More and more people are going to be getting magnetic headaches. More and more people are going to be getting sickness, which comes on in one moment and switches off in another. They get like I feel dreadfully, dreadfully sick for seconds, and then it'll switch off. Their headaches will come out of nothing and disappear into nothing as well. It'll be like if you drive fast down motorways or roads, you will get hit by a pressure headache that will be like a band across the head, and all of these are the new energies that we are going to have to, unfortunately, get used to.
I'm sure you've heard some of the videos people have put out there with the sounds heard around the world.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, some of them, to me, that's what they have sounded like. The bowls.
Yeah. Well, you don't. The people with, these controlling elite are using pulsed electromagnetic frequency, and they're using it to, HARP is a reality. I mean, it's doing something with Tesla's technology, and they could equally be manipulating the Earth's sound field, but the sound of the Earth itself, the one that I'm familiar with, is the high-pitched whistling that changes frequency. My friend suffered with tinnitus, and this is for all you tinnitus sufferers out there. And in the early stages of interacting with energy, it'll be a high-pitched whistling. And if you stand the person and just rotate him either clockwise or anti-clockwise, doesn't really matter. Eventually, you can move his head, the person's head, into a position where the sound switches off. And he's picking. My friend was picking up, although the doctors will call it tinnitus, and there may be a medical condition called tinnitus, but in his case, it would switch off when you faced him in a certain direction. So if you slowly turn round until the whistling switches off, and then step backwards and turn yourself back round, you'll pick up the frequency again. So if you imagine slowly rotating yourself on a central point. And more and more people are going to be starting to hear the whistling, before they go to sleep, or just it'll buzz in and it'll jolt you backwards, and that is the frequency change. That is definitely the frequency change of the Earth, and more people are going to be, coming across that and feeling it. They're going to be getting frustrated by it. Like I worked with. In the early days, when I had my near-death experiences, I was working with a man whose grandfather was a Maori chief. The name was Celio, and he didn't like we worked with energy, and we were planting energy into the fields of the earth, and he didn't like the whistling. He found it quite disturbing. I found it quite a easy thing to get on with, and I found that it was okay. But there will be people listening who do listen to this in the future who will recognize that uncomfortable feeling. I never had it. I found it was when I work with cancer patients, you get two frequencies in the ear. So you get a lower high pitch and a higher high pitch frequencies of energy, and then you just pour it out into the individual who you're working on for healing. So once we can interact with this energy again, we begin to understand what the megalithic people were drawing on those rocks, and that was they used the energy of creation to heal, and the energy of creation is the orb and the bar and the wave. We create magnetic rods, and we can push them into ley lines. We occasionally.
Right. I mean, you can't really leave out the ley lines either, Paul, when you're trying to explain this stuff to people.
No.
Because it's the truth too. I mean, they knew about the natural energy.
Well, in that picture account, and again, it would take a long time to try and explain it. We've got a Did I talk about it before? We had a sequence of 50 photographs.
I think so. On the last show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they fire out the top of the megaliths. Energy firing out the top of the megaliths. I've recorded it. They sit on
it. Because we were talking about the energy beams to a few of the pyramids, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So basically, what you've got is you've got my mind, my toe, and the energy field that the thought travels down, or the electrical impulse to move that toe travels down. And we have those on the earth. And that's it. And the ancients knew them. They put megalithic standing stones on them. When energy travels through the fields that the stones, and there are multiple fields that the stones sit on, when they are activated, and this is very rare. This is rare in a low magnetic field, but what we will see within a number of years is we will see light anomalies around megalithic fields. They will start to be reactivated, and the quartz inside of those will start to create piezoelectric effects. So it's like as though this charge running through each of these fields, which is the unseen magnetic field, or the frequency of magnetism, will run through those stones, creating pressure in those stones and creating an output of energy. And I've got many, many videos of stones outputting energy.
Mm-hmm.
I've got videos of them. I've got digital sequence of digital photographs. But of course, you need to know how the technique of capturing those. You need to know how slow you have to slow this energy down, because it's moving extremely fast. And you have to spend a number of hours collecting the data, years and years, in fact. So there's a sequence of standing stones where they create an aura over the top of them. So these stones then glow. And then when you put your hand on, they stop glowing. And then when you take your hand off, they start glowing again. So I have the data for these things. And I show it to camera people, and they go very quiet. I've shown it to a camera expert, and I said, he goes, it's flashback. I said, yeah, that's good. I said, so why does it stop when John puts his hand on the stone? Because they're all in sequence now, these photographs. And he goes, and why does it start? Why does this so-called flashback start back up when he takes his hand off it? And why does it stop when I put my hand on it? And because these are all in sequence now. And the only thing then they can say is it's Photoshop. Well, it's not Photoshop. You can tell what's been Photoshopped. You can tell what's been pixelated. So this is a genuine 50 sequence photograph. We could even see these, when you get the flash in the camera, so you take a photograph. So we're taking a picture of the top of the stone, and you can see, the old Charlie Chaplin movies that used to flicker.
Yeah.
Well, in a digital camera at night, you get a pre-flash which sets the focal lens, and then you get the main flash. So you get like two flashes, but they're so close together you can hardly tell the difference. Mm-hmm. You get like a flash and then a flash, a pre-flash flash, and it's so quick together. And what you could see in that flash is the bar moving away from the tip of the stone in the air. So you'd see like two flashes of very, very quick images of these bars firing out the top of the stone. Now, we watched that. In certain conditions, if you put it in infrared, you get your hands glowing as well. We got hundreds of photographs of the hands glowing. Where the hands glow, and then we got orbs that are attached to the hand. We got bars that are into the body, and we have rock art depicting the same thing from 4,500 years ago. I mean, to be honest, it doesn't. I'm amazed that the people cannot see it. That's the thing that amazes me. I mean, the geometry of the hook web orb is just beyond. I mean, the actual angles measured from a photograph to the rock art are exactly the same, and these things are like these things have three different internal angles in a circle. And they're not. It's not a. It's a very unusual shape that's drawn. The orbs are in bars or waves, and they go in threes, and they've drawn that on the rock art as well. Hans Glazier also talked about it in his woodcut to 1561. I mean, these ancient energy workers are everything. They're all the druids and everyone is. I mean, not that I'm. I think that the druids are have lost a lot of. In fact, everyone is. This stuff has been hidden and lost for a long time. And I think it's only with the invention of digital cameras. Had digital cameras not been around, and video cameras, and the way technology can be streamed and video can be put together, all I would have been is a person who could remote view.
Right.
And I would have understood the universe. Like I could tell that the sun was going into contraction because the same thing that I could feel from you, I could feel from the sun. His field was in contraction. You know, some people's limbs and illnesses push out of their body. And sometimes it pulls into their body because it's in contraction. It's sucking energy in. And the sun was sucking energy, what I would class as pulling its field back into itself. That's why I knew that there'd be a solar minimum. Do you know what I mean? And only through understanding this energy, the whole science becomes so much easier, and then you can demonstrate it with modeling. You can demonstrate it with data. You know, you can demonstrate it with theory. The theories that you talk about can be observed, which is more than can be said for a number of. Well, even the redshift law. I mean, the redshift law is a nonsense. And I mean, you only have to look at Halton Arp's work on the redshift, on his quasi-stellar objects, to know that it's not a law. And the constant speed of light, and nothing accelerating faster than the speed of light. But recently, CERN has found neutrinos move faster than the speed of light. If nothing moves fast, if light is the ultimate speed, then all the light from the Big Bang should be at the edge of the universe, because nothing can accelerate faster than it. In which case, no light should be present, because unless light is being made, you know, the Big Bang light should be at the edge of the universe, so the edge of that, and it should be accelerating away from us. Light shouldn't be reflected off planets from the Big Bang. Because the logic tells you that if it's running faster away than before any matter was made, it couldn't hit any matter at the edge of the universe, which is the edge of the Big Bang. And how can light have a constant speed when the Big Bang was moving fast when it banged and slowed down? So, so the whole thing is nonsense. I mean, what does it? The constant speed of light slows down comparatively in comparison to the speed of the acceleration of the universe. Does that mean it's got a constant speed? Do you know what I mean?
I'm following you. Wow. Am I still on?
Yeah.
Okay. My phone just. I'm using my home phone and a headset.
So the universe and the ancient, and I suppose that I was privileged. I suppose at the time of having these near-death experiences, I came back with my field open. I think it's a burden and a privilege. I think there is a duality to this, because once your field is opened in that way, and you've got no way to shut it down, you have no desire to shut it down, then you will be affected by earthquakes, and you will be affected by storms, and you will be affected by negative people, and you will be, because all of that energy is pouring in and out of you all the time.
I agree.
So, did you? Are there any listeners who've been having chest palpitations lately?
Oh, yeah.
No, I had one of the boys who I was showing when he was very much younger. I used to take him camping and fishing and stuff like that. I used to take my son kayaking, and he rang me the other day and he said, how you been feeling last week? And I said, I said to him, so you got chest palpitations this week, have you? I mean, he's a young man, he's not. And he's going, yeah, how do you know? I said, have you had the headache that goes with it? And he's going, yeah, I have. I said, is it like, yeah, and then I described the John McEnroe headband and stuff like that. And he's going, yeah, how do you know? And I said, come on, Nathan, you've been and seen this stuff long enough. And I mean, he can work with energy as well. And there will be people who will be feeling that fluttering, and this is this energy coming in, and
that's exactly what I said, about feeling this energy. We need to embrace it, because I think acknowledging it makes it all easier. But you know what, Paul, that ends up being something easier said and done for people who are the way we are. And that's what, I say, the moment in time we're at right now, we've all arrived here in different ways.
Yeah.
We're all headed to the same place. And versus, bashing each other or not being open, would be so much wiser to choose just acknowledge what someone has to say, listen to it, because, if it doesn't work for you right now, that doesn't mean in a couple of months it won't make sense, because that's the one thing I say to people. You know what, it's going to happen to you, and for some people right now, it's kind of how I am viewing it.
Yeah.
And then I'll let you close with your thoughts, because we're to the end. I'm just like, look, it's going to happen to you. Some of us have worked at this for years.
Yeah.
The rest of you, look, it's going to fly at you, and if you're not ready to embrace it, you might find yourself
You will start to see a lot of these... you will start to see a lot of these new age gurus falling apart.
Mhm.
You will start. This is what you'll start.
I think it already started.
I think they will start to fall apart. They'll start to show even signs of their aggressive nature that's been hidden. They'll start probably attacking each other, and this is what will happen with the controlling elite. They will lose because they don't want the weaving spider. They don't want a strong magnetic field. No weaving spiders here, and there's a lot of the weaker magnetic field allows some very psychotic things to happen.
Yeah, that's what
because as soon as the magnetic field weakens, we disconnect from each other. So we have lost 10% of the magnetic field or 20% of the magnetic field within the last 50 years, right? So the field now that connects us no longer connects us. So we become separate. And then that allows us to do dreadful things to our brothers and sisters. But that is changing. The earth is undergoing this change, and the energy is increasing, and you can see it in statistics. Faster spin, increased carbon-14. The radioactive carbon decay rates have accelerated. Now, is that because of Fukushima, or is that because of carbon-14 in itself has increased? Carbon-14 acting on DNA. Carbon holds charge. We're looking at the edge of this change. The sun is white. It used to be yellow. What is the chance of the Mayans getting that right? The Mayans were handed it down from the Olmec. The Olmec said that they didn't have it. It was handed down before them. And all of these buses are arriving at the same time. From all these cultures, the great unveiling. Yeah?
I just looked up over at my clock, and guess what?
We're on time.
We have zoomed through 3 hours. Again, we had a late start. I hope we will connect again and continue having this conversation. And I will post all of your information for everybody. Paul Muir on Facebook. Thank you so much, Paul. I'll be in touch with you because I sure hope we'll do this again.
Yeah.
I just
Thank you very much.
Love it.
Thank you very much for the invite. And
always.
Thanks to all the listeners. And we all have to come to terms with the changes that we are going to see and the return to this oneness. God bless everyone.
All right, everybody. That's it for me, Pathosages. I'll see you next Monday at my regular time. Enjoy the solar eclipse, the Pleiades alignment, and take care. Peace out, everybody. Thanks, Paul.
Cheers. Good night.
Good night.
In these troubling times, we should all be thinking about food security. That is why CJ and Tallulah started Patriot Pantry. Patriot Pantry offers a delicious assortment of gourmet meals and beverages. Just add water, heat, and eat. Made and grown in America, except for a few tropical fruits, all natural, GMO and irradiation-free, kosher, and a gluten-free selection. Most of the products have a 25-year shelf life and are packed for easy storage. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks in a wide variety of packaging to fit every need and budget. So get your food freedom today. Visit patriotpantry.gofoodsglobal.com. That's patriotpantry.gofoodsglobal.com. And find Patriot Pantry on Facebook and Twitter, too. Thank you from CJ and Tallulah.